state sharding, and this is by far the most difficult to accomplish. And most blockchains that try sharding actually skip out on it because they can't solve it and they don't think it's worth the trouble, but it really is. What state sharding is basically breaking up the entire state of the blockchain into sections, into segments or shards. Go back to the database example that we used previously with 10,000 files in one database, and then we took and we put 2,500 in each. Well, that's what state sharding is. You're taking the blockchain, the entire ledger of the blockchain, and breaking it up into multiple shards. So they only have to store their section of the data at any given time instead of the entire ledger, which can grow really large. And if you require nodes or validators to store the entire ledger of a blockchain, especially with future adoption that's coming, the amount of data that they have to store can be incredibly large. Now, this is where the complexity and difficulty come into play with a state sharded blockchain, because when you have multiple shards, they need to be able to communicate together and communicate with each other. And the brilliant approach that MultiversX took is they introduced the meta shard or meta chain. And this is what helps all these different shards communicate with each other, and also helps with finalization when you're trying to do transactions across multiple shards. And it is a brilliant approach on how to allow these shards to communicate. And the best part is that this meta chain, or meta shard if you like to call it that, only has to handle tiny amounts of data from each shard, what's called a hash basically. So it's very tiny amounts of data and it can handle a lot of it. So this meta chain can handle up to 20,000 shards currently. And if you do the math, 20,000 shards times the current TPS per shard, we're looking at over 100 million theoretical TPS that MultiversX can do with the system that they have in place.